Everyone. Today we will try to explain clearly on this blood grouping process of chapter 18, that is the transportation and the body fluids. So first we'll start with who discovered this blood grouping and how we can find the blood groups of an individual. I mean, why that individual is called as blood group A or blood group B or whatever it is. We'll discuss on them clearly. But first of all, before going into this blood grouping topic, I just want to explain about the antigens and the antibodies. So generally, every cell, every cell will have some protein molecules on their cell membrane. So I'm not saying that antigens are present all over the cell. I mean only on the cell. But antigens can also be seen normally also. But we are discussing the blood grouping, so that's why I'm taking a cell as an example. So every cell will have some proteins on their surface, cell membrane surface, and these proteins will have the capability of activating, or we can say inducing, an immune response. So that type of proteins which can induce an immune response, they are called as antigens. So to be clear, antigens may be outer dust particles also, or any microbes also, or any cells also. But as we are going to the blood grouping part, we require the cell info. We are discussing this part. Okay, so antigens, they are the any particle, basically protein, or we can say glycoproteins also, any particles which can activate or induce the immune response. So what happens when immune response is induced? The lymphocytes, B lymphocytes will be activated, and B lymphocytes will produce some protein molecules, some special protein molecules called as antibodies. Now these antibodies will come, and that antibodies will bind with antigens, and they will damage this one. They will damage this total unit. Now this process, or this antigen antibody complex formation, I can say this antigen antibody complex formation is called agglutination, or in simple words it is called as clumping. So why I have taken this immunity topic into this blood topic means because generally people get confused with the coagulation and the agglutination. So we should know the difference between the coagulation and agglutination properly. That's why I have taken this topic, and moreover this could be important for understanding the blood transfusion process. Why the other person will have the clumpings in his blood, why some people will not have the clumping, and that all those things transfusion part we'll discuss after we discuss the blood grouping part. Anyway, so coagulation is just a non-immune activity where there is no involvement of antibodies. Only the fibers, the clotting factors and the fibers are involved for the clotting process. So this is a clot, not clump. So this is a clotting process, and whereas this one, the antigen antibody complex formation, is a clump, and this antigen antibody complex formation can kill the cell bearing those antigens. So we have to know the difference between the coagulation and the agglutination. Now when you are discussing on the blood, always we are discussing the agglutination. During the blood transfusion, all those things, passing our blood from one person to other person, we are discussing agglutination. So this is the basic topic I just want to start with. Now coming to the point, what is this blood grouping, or how many types of blood groups are there, and all those things, we'll discuss them clearly one by one. So the basic point, blood grouping was actually discovered, we can say, or explained, I should say, explained by two people called as Karl Landsteiner. So a person called as Karl Landsteiner, one person called as Karl Landsteiner, and Wiener. These two people explained the blood groups, and to be exact, Karl and Steer started with explaining the blood groups in the form of A, B, AB and O. And with the support of Wiener, there was a topic of explaining the positive and negative. You all know blood groups will have positives and negatives. So positive and negative. So that was with the support of the Wiener. So all this happened nearly 1900 or 1905, something like that. So now we'll discuss why these blood groups are called as A, B or AB or O. First thing, the Karl Landsteiner, when he was observing, he observed that the red blood cells, so assume this as a red blood cell, and he observed that on the red blood cell we are having some antigens, and those antigens were having different shapes. So the polypeptide chain or the structure was different. Now he named them. So any blood in which there RBC having A antigen, now he named that blood group as blood group A. So he called that group as blood group A. So if you are having B antigen, I will try to draw this other thing. If you are having B antigen on the cell, so assume this as a B antigen. Now that person's blood could become blood group B. So if he's having both the antigen A, I'm not drawing the cell, it's okay. So who is having both antigens, antigen A and antigen B, so that group will be assigned as AB. Now who don't have any antigens, nil, 0, now that person will be coming under blood group O, which is actually indicating the 0. Nothing is there, no antigens, okay. So now when he was observing, this was on the red blood cells, on the RBC membrane. So we have the glycoprotein nature which forms the antigens and all those things. Now when he observed the plasma also, he also tried to observe the plasma, and in the plasma he was observing the antibodies. So a person having blood group A will have antigen A, and he cannot have the antibody A, because if both the same types are present, antibody A and antigen A, both will form the agglutination. Both will have the antigen antibody complex reaction. So that's why in the plasma there was antibody B of the A blood group, and here what can have, we can have the antibody A for the B person, because see, he has to be alive, and generally same type of antigen antibody will not work together. If same type is there, clumping will happen and the person will die because of the internal clots. Okay, so now as this person AB is having both the antigens, he can't have antibodies. So here this person is having nil antibodies, because if he is having any antibody, they can react with any one of this antigen and they can become 0. Now this person who is not having any antigens have both the antibodies, antibody A and antibody B. Because he is not having any antigen, his body can react to any antigen coming from outside. So any antigen coming from outside can react and they can produce the antibodies. So he will be having capacity of producing both antibody A and antibody B. So his plasma will be having both antibody A and antibody B, because he is not having any antigens. So no problem, his blood can be normal, he can live. Now this is the actual primary conclusion of this Karl and Steiner. But what happened is, when they were observing, along with the Wiener, as I have said, when they were observing the rhesus monkey blood. So when they are observing the rhesus monkey blood, they observed an antigen which was very different than these two, which was very different in the structure from these two. So what they have called them, they called them as RH antigen. So because it was not A, because it was not B, he called them as RH antigen. And any blood which have this RH antigen, it can be called as positive. So if the RH is present, it can be called as positive. If RH is absent, it is called as negative blood. Simple thing. And if you wonder where this antigen is present, it is present on the RBC, the RH antigen. So obviously antigens are present on the membranes and antibodies are present in the plasma. Simple thing. So where they are present, again these are also present on the RBC membranes. Now what happened then, the Karl and Scher came to a conclusion that okay, every blood group will have the ABO grouping, these RH grouping. That means every person will have these two combined. So if a person is having antigen A and if he is having the RH antigen also, is A positive. Now if is, for example, I'll write the two forms here. So if the present, I'll put tick mark. If RH is present, A positive. RH is absent, A negative. Or we'll write minus, simple. A positive, A negative. Same with the positive. B positive, B negative. AB positive, AB negative. O positive, O negative. So now why it was important means because this also played a very important role in the blood transfusion. See, blood groups discovery was very important because people were always having some injuries and the blood was being lost. And when blood was given from other person, the blood was, in some people it was good, in some people it was causing problems. It was causing the internal clots and it was causing so much damage to the person's internal conditions. That's why they have found these groups, they have created these groups, or they have discovered, I'm sorry, you should not say created, they have discovered these groups, and based on these groups you can check for the compatibility. That means which person can give to which person or which person can receive from which person. So you can have the compatibility for the transfusion. That's the important application of this blood grouping. With the ABO blood grouping or the RH blood grouping, both have very important role being played in the blood transfusion technique. This blood transfusion process, we should check for the compatibility. We should check for the compatibility and the immune responses happening inside the recipient. So here the recipient is the more important one, and we should check whether the person who is giving the blood is compatible with the person who is receiving the blood. So if both the bloods are not compatible, then there may be immune responses happening inside the recipient, and the recipient may even have the agglutination, and there may be causes of clots and clumpings, and he may also become fatal. So this condition may also become fatal. So fatalities can be there. So now during this blood transfusion, as I already said, there will be some compatibility rules that are followed, or we can say that the doctors will do compatibility tests whether the blood giving or blood taking is compatible or not. Okay, so main point to be remembered here, during the transfusion we'll have two people. One person is the donor, other person is the recipient, or we can say acceptor. Now the issue is who will have the more effect, the recipient, because he is the person who will have to take the blood and who will have the responses, immune response happening. So in this person we have to concentrate on the antibodies in the plasma. Okay, and the donor is giving the antigen, so here we will concentrate on the antigen. So while comparing the compatibility of the two bloods, the donor blood and recipient blood, what the doctors will compare. So we have some small rules. We'll see that a person who is donating, donor, he should, or he can, we can say, he can have same type of antigens as the recipient. So he can have the same type of antigens, but the main thing is he should not, or the person, he or she should not have any extra antigen. He or she should not have any extra antigen compared to whom? The recipient. So because we have to concentrate on Donor is giving antigen, so we have to consider antigens. Now coming to recipient, he is the person who have that what you can say immune response issue. So he'll have antibodies in it. We have to concentrate on the antibodies of his plasma in the recipient. Now what he can have? He can have similar antibodies. He can have similar antibodies as of the donor. He can have similar antibodies, but what he should not have any antibodies. He should not have any antibodies similar to the antigens. Similar to antigens of donor. So if you follow these things, then it will be easier to find out whether the blood is compatible or not. Yes, it's a bit hectic, but you can use any one of it. Any one rule can be applied. So first thing, remember, when you are comparing a donor's blood and recipient blood, in the donor blood you have to check for the antigens. So when he is giving the antigen, that antigen should be similar to the recipient, and there should not be any extra. There should not be any extra antigen. And the person who is taking the blood, he should be having similar antibodies with the donor, and the main thing, he should not have any similar antibodies with corresponding to the antigens of the donor. If this happens, this will not happen. That's obvious thing. If there is similar antibodies, then we will not have this rule applicable. But anyway, I have given that those two. So using this law, we will try to compare one of the blood groups so that you will easily understand. For example, we will say a person of A positive blood group is trying to be or is trying to give blood to the B positive person. B positive person. So now we'll try to check these rules. First of all, we'll write what antigens will be there in A positive. So we'll have A antigen, we'll have RH antigen, and what antibodies? We'll have antibodies, that is B antibodies. Now in the B positive, what will we have? We'll having B antigen, okay, we'll be having RH antigen, and we'll be having A antibodies. Is it or not? Now if you try to apply these rules. First, he can have same type of antigens. So he's having same, but here we have one more problem. He should not have any extra antigens. Now observe here. When this person gives blood to this person, this A becomes extra. So A. So obviously here it becomes incompatible. In the first step only it becomes incompatible. But anyway, if you want to assess that whether the remaining things are satisfying or not, we'll go for this one. He can have similar antibodies of donor. He can have similar antibodies, but there is no similar antibodies. So he is donor, he is recipient, he is not having any similar antibodies. But the main thing, he should not have similar antibodies corresponding to donor's antigen. So here you have A antibody and he is having A antigen. So obviously it is not compatible. So you can check like this. With these 4 points you can check. Right? So again I am telling this. A person who is giving the blood, the donor, should not have any extra antigen or a different antigen. Should not. He can have the same antigen, no problem, but he should not have any extra or a different antigen. You can use that word also. He should not have any extra or a different antigen when compared to recipient. Now if you want to come with the recipient point of view, you can take the antibodies. You should not compare the antigens here. You can take the antibodies, it will be easier. So antibodies comparison. He can have similar antibodies of the donor, but the main issue is he should not have any antibodies similar to the antigens of the donor. Okay, so you can see here he is having A antigen and he is having A antibody. If this person gives blood to this person, obviously what happens? So if this A antigen and these A antibody readily waiting, what happens? Both of them will agglutinate inside this person's body and it causes damage of the RBC. So blood transfusion is failed. Okay, we'll use one more point like that. We'll use the same point. I'll give you a few more examples one by one. So I'll give 4 to 5 examples so that you'll understand them properly. So we'll take one more example and we'll try to understand that. So now think that we are trying to transfuse a blood from the universal donor. So for example, I am trying to give blood from universal donor O negative to uh, a person of B positive. Okay. Now this person is having no antigens. Okay. Now this person is having all the antibodies. He is having antibody A. He is having antibody B. He is having antibody RH. But that's not the issue, because antibodies we have to take consideration to the recipient's body. These antibodies are not into our consideration, because where is the immune response happening? In the recipient. So he is the donor and he is the recipient. Now in recipient, what antigens we have? We have B antigen, we have RH antigen, and we have antibody A. Now we'll come for the first rule. What is the first rule? The person who is giving should not have any extra antigens. He is not all having antigens, no problem there. So he can have same, or there should not be any extra. So there is no extra. He is not at all having antigens, so you cannot have extra with this one. Now this is compatible. Okay. Now we'll come to the recipient point of view. The antibodies. The antibodies in the recipient can be similar to this one. So there is similarity. That's okay. Now what is the second rule? Main rule. He should not have the antibody similar to the antigen of the donor. Now he is not at all having antigens. There's the problem. So this will be what, Nana? Compatible. Now try to reverse it. If you reverse it, what happens? So if there is transfusion between the same B positive, but the transfusion has been reversed. So a B positive person is giving blood to the, now he became donor and he became recipient. Now think of this issue. We'll apply the same rules. So we have same things here. First we'll start with the donor part. Donor can have same antigens. Okay, you have antigen here, antigen B, antigen RH, but here we don't have any antigen. So second rule has been deviated here. The donor should not have any extra antigen. They should not have any extra antigen corresponding to recipient. So obviously at the first point it is incompatible. Now coming to recipient's part. Now he is the recipient, right? So coming to recipient parts, what happened? He should not have any antibodies. Or yes, we can have antibodies. So here we have antibody. You can see here antibody A, antibody B, antibody RH. You can have similar antibodies as of the donor. But what's the point? He should not have any antibody similar to the antigens of the donor. Now you can see here is having B antigen and here is having antibody B. So what happens? This reversal is incompatible. So it is not accepting rule. So any kind of question in the NEET, if it ask that whether this blood is transfusible or not, compatible or not, you can keep it a simple way. I mean, if you want to understand, this is the hard way. If you want to keep it simple way, you can have two hints. I'll give you one of the hint of it. Remember, basically, first hint is positives cannot donate to negatives. So this first hint. Positive cannot donate to negative. Second one, negative can donate to anyone. Negative can donate to anyone. So these two things, if you remember, there will be some part of answer. Now third thing, O is the universal donor. O, universal donor. AB is universal acceptor. So these things can be taken into consideration. So if you want to see whether a person having A blood group can take blood from the O, yes, he can take it. But can he take it from AB? No, because he is recipient, he is not donor. This is somewhat mugging up type, and I don't like these things. You can use the rules. If you have those 4 rules in the mind, then no question can make you wrong, or no question can make you wrong in the NEET. So remember 4 rules. I am just repeating again. from the donor point of view, we should take antigens because he is the person who is giving antigens to the recipient. So from the donor, he can have same antigens, but there should not be any extra antigens from the donor side. From the recipient side, he is the one who is producing the immune response. So in the recipient side, the antibodies, he can have same antibodies as the donor, but he should not have the same antibodies as the antigens of the donor. So you can have same antibodies. If here is antibody A, there is antibody A, no problem. But here antibody should not correspond with the antigens of the donor. That's the rule. The fourth rule somewhat twisting. The antibody of the recipient should not correspond with the antigen of the donor. Here O is not any antigen, so no rule can stable there. So that's why it is compatible at any point of time. If it's reversed, you can see here. If it's reversed, you can see in B positive, there is, now this becomes recipient. Is it or not? Now any antibody here should not correspond to antigen here because this became recipient here. Reversal. So remember, that's important. From which point of view you are discussing? From the donor point of view or from the recipient point of view? Donor point of view, you have to check for the antigens. Recipient point of view, you have to check for the antibody corresponding to the donor antigen. The antibody present in the donor, in the recipient should not be equal to the antigen present in the donor.